Okay, let's say for some bizarre reason, producer has come to you and wants you to create an introduction, an opening sequence for a golden age history of pulp fiction magazine covers. Okay, it's pretty bizarre, but let's just see. If you have the Motion Montage Volume 2, you could load in what they call DM cover and possibly take some of the images that the producer has given you and pop those images onto the cover of the DM. And there we go, we'll drop one there. And okay, it's kind of cool. We'll probably have to rescale it, so let's hit the R key and scale that and let's size it up. And if you apply your covers very carefully and do the pre-built open animation, you see you could do something pretty cool. And here's hit the X key. I've already done one here. And you can hit this and let's animate that. There are the covers there opening up. Kind of a cool effect, kind of neat. You could add a little specularity to it, make it look glossy, and you probably get okay. But let's want to do something a little different. Let's do what they call in the printing industry a die cut effect, where the printed material is cut out. And since these covers of these magazines tend to jump out at you, that might be a cool way to build our introduction for, let's say, a DVD on the subject of pulp magazine covers. So let's go into Photoshop. First off, these are the covers that the producer has sent us, various pulp magazines, and we will highlight these magazines in our intro. Let's load one of these covers into, let's take the shadow, load that into Photoshop. Now what we want to do is in Photoshop, let's drag a duplicate. Go down here and hit that box there. And that'll make a duplicate. We'll turn this off. And let's do a little cutout. And I'm going to use one of the matte cutting tools. And let's just do a rough, quick cut here around the basic subject matter. And I'm just going to drag this out pretty sloppy. You'd probably want to take a little more time. And but I'll give you the idea of what we're going to do here to create a die cut effect for our little intro. And we'll just continue on. This is pretty much the boring part, but depending on how accurate you want to be, you'll want to take your time. You might want to use one of the other tools in Photoshop or a similar painting program that you use. I like Photoshop. It's just tends to be the most powerful and readily usable. Okay, we've created a mat around part of our subject. Now we have, if we hit X, Control X in Photoshop, it will cut that out. That's not exactly what we want. We want to invert that selection. So let's go up here to the Select menu and say Inverse. And now, when we hit X, it cuts out that portion of the image. And here is our original image on layer, the background layer. And then on layer 1, we have a cutout of our object for our cover. So let's save this now as a PNG format. When we save it as a PNG, it will save the alpha channel, which iClone will recognize. And since I've already done one here, it was called Shadow Matte PNG, and we hit Save. And we save that. I'm going to cancel right now because I've already done that. But that's the idea. We cut out a matte in Photoshop, save our image as a PNG, and of course we already have our JPEG image of the object as well in a folder, but now we have a PNG of that cover as well. So let's go back to iClone and see what happens. Let's start a new project. No. And let's go over into our folder. There's our covers, and let's go back here to pings. And I have done cutouts of all the folders covers I want to use. This one is right here. I'm going to drag it by holding Control down, shadow map, and drag it onto the stage. And there we go. There is our object right there. And if you look real close, for some reason iClone doesn't quite handle the alpha channel exactly right. And if you look closely up here, you'll see a little fringing. And it may just be on my machine, but I've seen this a lot on all the alpha images with the alpha channels I cut out. So let's highlight that a little more. Let's turn off the background, and I think you can see it with black. Maybe turn off the grid with Control G. Now maybe you can see that fringing I'm getting. I'll even highlight it a little more here by double clicking on there. And let's just turn up the specularity a bit on this, and glossiness. Might be able to see right there. Let's change that specular color to, instead of black. There we go. And now you can really see the fringing problem. So to get rid of that fringing problem, just look at our glossiness a little bit at some point. But to get rid of that, what I have to do, at least on my system, is go down to UV settings, change the tiling just a little smaller, and apply that, and reapply the Z. There we go. Z-axis. Reset the planar image, and now by changing that value in tiling on the U and the V coordinates, we have eliminated. If I go back, hit apply, it's back. But if we tweak just a fraction, there. And we did the Z-axis, and now we have a die cut of that particular image. We've got our image now on the stage. We've made our adjustments to the alpha channel, so everything looks relatively clean. And what I want to do now is bring up the actual cover. So let's go back to our folder Explorer, and once again hold down the Control key. I'm going to drag the full cover. I'm going to try to hit the world coordinate tick mark there in the middle of the stage, let go, and that should pretty much put it right smack dab in the center. And notice, yes it does, pretty cool. And so now we've got the two images there, and they're both going to be available for us to play with. Let's label this the cover. And this is the cutout. It's a little bit of shift, but that's all right. Okay. And there we go. Cover and the cutout. And good. Okay, what I want to do is lay the cover down flat, let's say, and I'll either have to type it in probably because I can't. There it goes. Holding down the Shift key. And let's once again take the cutout and let's lay it down flat too. And double check our coordinates here. Let's type it in. Shift key doesn't work very good as far as I'm concerned. There we go. Okay, so now what we want to do is maybe go along for a few frames and then let the cover, the cutout, pop up. And there we go. Get it right there. So let's back it up. And that's probably a little slower than I would like. So let's open up the menu and look at the transform keys, and let's tighten that up a little bit. Let's slide here. Now I'm going to hit it. And maybe a little faster still. Like that. There we go. Okay, adjusted our transform keys there. And then probably once that's up for a few seconds, let's now let the cover, transform key, and let's let the cover come up. pretty much after that, let's pop the cover up. And once again, let's try to hit it. And what's going to happen here? We go. Not about there. You might set it just a little bit behind, not go exactly 90 degrees there if you don't want to. Because sometimes you might want to make some alterations in your artwork. On a few of these pieces, I took out some of the text copy from the cover and made the pop-up cutout part clean, a clean image without any text, and that helped a little bit there. Okay, we've made a few tweaks and pretty much got the look we're after. Pop up, then the cover comes up. And one little thing I like to do is parent all my objects to what I call a null, and something that will be invisible. But let's just take a block here and load that in. I'm going to delete the texture since I'm not concerned with the texture. Garbage can. And let's just, for ease sake, let's just scale it down a little bit. Not that it's going to make too much difference at all what size it is. And that's going to be what I'm going to call a null. And now I'm going to parent the cover, attach it to the null, and the cutout, attach it to the null. And then when I move the null, everything will move with it. Everything should move and still perform its deal. And I can even hit the R key and scale things, okay, if I need to. But typically, of course, the null will be invisible. So let's go down and make the opacity of the null invisible. But now we have a single object that I can move, and for me it just makes things a little easier to organize, and I can move things around. Now what I'm going to do is do this same procedure to all these other covers, and they'll each have a null object, and then I'll probably have one big master null object, because I'm going to take about 5 magazine covers and do the same treatment to them, and build our intro that way. Okay, we got everything lined up here, made our adjustments. Let's see what we're going to have here. They're going to pop up, and you'll see I have allowed some of the covers to actually go past the cutout, so the text will pop up. You see some text popping up in a few of these, right there, right there. But that's pretty much the effect I want to get. It's the die cut effect, covers popping up. And then, of course, now you can make a few more adjustments to your stage. Let's play with the text that comes if you buy the motion montage here. Okay, if you buy Motion Montage Volume 2, you'll get some capitalized letters, some lowercase letters. So let's just use one of these. We'll build the word pulp. But for now, let's just start with the P and the R key and the W key and get it in position. And let's just play with this. Now, pretty basic texturing, so I thought it might be fun to grab one of the pulp covers and apply it. And once again, I find that typically I like to reset. And once again, I hit planar, and it was on the Z-axis, and reapplied, and it sized it up a little better for me. So probably specularity is a little too much. I'd like to get a little glisten to it. Let's take it down, and let's bring it up to about 50 or 60 or so, and gloss. So there's a little gloss effect, and so we've got the cover on there. Might adjust the background side. Let's take a look at that. Dropper key and select that. It's got some reflection on it. That's cool. Let's put a little glow on it. And let's try the green glow and see what happens. There we go. So you might do that to the edge of the letter. And build your word with these, and this is what I've done, of course, over here. Build the word pulp, and we'll use that in our little intro. Okay, here are all the elements. We've got our text here. I've got all my magazine covers. I've added a master null, and I'll show you that right there. That controls all the separate nulls for each cover and its cutout. So once again, I can move the master null and they'll all move around if I need them to. And once again, just change the opacity to make it invisible. Also, we've did a little text in Photoshop and turned it on there. You can just see it. It's called Golden Age, the Golden Age of. Just typed that in Photoshop, saved it as a PNG file, and brought it in. And I'll animate all that, bring all these elements together, hopefully. And another thing I thought would be nice to add is just to change the stage out. And instead of the standard color backdrop, I just did something in Photoshop and gave it a little red gradient there, sort of radial gradient, and that'll be appropriate, I think, to pulp. And we've got the lettering here. I'm going to bring up the glow on the pulp word. That'll all be animated. Now, in the beginning, we mentioned if you have the Motion Montage Volume 2, you do have some cool paper animation effects. You can create a booklet magazine, which would be cool. If you had the DM cover pop-up, which is kind of neat, it, as you remember, opens up in a cool way. You can use this same effect to create a die cut. If you'll go back and grab your ping image and just drop it on the cover. And always remember, let's be sure to refresh the UV settings. Make sure you've selected that particular cover, which we have. And always make sure you go down and refresh the settings, typically the Z or the Y axis. Let's hit it. Okay, that's refreshed. Now, as you open the book, okay, the back side obviously doesn't have it, so let's drop the image once again right there, and looks like it's correct. Okay, and we can do that to each of these. Go in and drag a ping, and you might have to refresh it, but go through and do each one of them that way, and if you're real clever, you can build a nice little, let's see what we've done here. There we go. It'll all pop up. And so it'll create a nice effect too. So you can do that as well with some of the built-in elements that you get when you buy that particular pack. Motion Montage Volume 2. Okay, let's see the finished product.